Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into some really fascinating theological sources. We're looking at a central question, this resurrection transformation of certain individuals called martyr witnesses. Does it happen just the one time? Or maybe multiple times?
Yeah, and it's interesting how that connects to what happens next.
Exactly. And what does it all mean for, well, for anyone else on Earth during what the sources call the latter half of the final week?
What's really intriguing, I think, is how these discussions, about very specific events like the first resurrection, as these sources call it, they're not just isolated points. They seem deeply woven into the bigger picture.
Bigger picture,
like the completion of creation, divine justice, how it all unfolds. It's all connected.
Right, okay. So let's zero in on that core idea then. The first resurrection. Our sources seem pretty consistent here. They call it the first resurrection of life, sometimes the better resurrection. And they frame it as this singular, really pivotal event. And specifically for these martyr witnesses, maybe step back for a second. Who exactly are these martyr witnesses the sources mean? And why is this resurrection supposed to be so unique?
Good question. So the sources define them as basically individuals who give their lives for their faith, specifically during a really intense, unprecedented persecution that the texts describe.
Okay.
And this first resurrection is unique because, well, according to the sources, it happens at a very precise cosmic moment. It coincides with the seventh trumpet.
The seventh trumpet.
Right.
Oh,
and it happens when a specific appointed number of these martyr witnesses is reached. Then instantly they're transformed. They become spirit-bodied beings and are, as the text puts it, caught up into the air.
Caught up into the air. So that dramatically changes who's left right. Does that imply, then, no more resurrections like this one? And maybe no more forced worship of this beast figure for anyone left?
Precisely. That seems to be the implication in the text. Once that number's met, and they're transformed and taken. The only people described as remaining on earth are those who did worship the beast. So yeah, that wouldn't leave room for more martyr witness resurrections of this kind.
Okay.
And it also suggests that the period of enforced beast worship, at least for any saints, is over, because those who refused it would have just been taken up in that resurrection.
Wow. Okay. That sounds incredibly definitive. And the sources really stress how important this single event is. Like, it's the ultimate proof that God's commands are true, that they can be kept, even if it means dying.
Yeah, dying for your faith becomes the ultimate validation in that context.
Right.
But it's even more than just proof. It's presented as a kind of cosmic validation. Think of it like this. It's not just about bringing people back to life. It signifies what the sources actually call the completion of free will for all creation.
Completion of free will? How so?
Well, it's like the definitive answer to whether created beings can truly choose to align with God's will, even under extreme pressure. It confirms God's love and justice, showing true freedom is in that alignment. It sort of locks that in.
Got it.
And crucially, the timing. It happens right before what the sources call the Great Atonement, and then the pouring out of the 7 plagues.
Okay, that sequence is really important. Justice and transformation link there. But, okay, this brings up another point I find really interesting. The 1,000-year kingdom. If these resurrected martyr witnesses, the king priests, are reigning, the sources also mention people living in this kingdom. If all the martyr witnesses were already taken up, who are these people?
Yeah, that's a key question. And given how singular that first resurrection is presented,
right,
the most consistent view you find in these sources is that these people are actually individuals resurrected later. They possess what the texts call soulish bodies.
Soulish bodies, different from the spirit bodies.
Exactly, different from the martyr witnesses. Soulish bodies seems to imply a more, earthly kind of existence. They can marry, have children, that sort of thing. And these individuals face a final test after the 1,000 years.
Ah, okay, so it's a different group, different bodies, different timeline.
It seems so. A different path, you might say, distinct from the intense trial the martyr witnesses went through earlier.
So the sources are really making a clear distinction then. This unique first resurrection for the martyr witnesses is not the same as, say, a second resurrection of life for general saints, the one that happens much later at the Great White Throne Judgment.
Absolutely. They're presented as fundamentally different events, and that distinction really reinforces the idea of the first resurrection as this unique one-off pivotal moment. It's central to how God's plan unfolds and how his law is ultimately verified, according to these texts. Its exclusivity highlights a very specific purpose.
Okay. So wrapping this part up, this deep dive really points towards one single crucial event for the resurrection transformation of these martyr witnesses. And that one event fundamentally shapes the whole timeline afterwards.
Yeah, it shapes who's on Earth, when, even into the 1,000-year kingdom.
It really underlines the huge significance of that one moment, not just for those individuals, but like you said, for the fabric of creation and understanding God's plan.
The whole narrative seems to hinge on it in many ways.
So thinking about all this, what stands out to you about how one precisely timed event like this could have such massive ripple effects across an entire cosmic story and really redefine how we might think about divine justice?